Okay, so we're gonna do this on Periscope. Let's see if we can get a full room here. Hello.
Mark West.
Hi. So it looks like I'm gonna be doing this on Periscope and not Blab because Blab and I are not fully friends yet.
Mark West.
So I'm gonna end this, and we are going to talk about. Let me turn this around. Does that work? We're going to talk about how to get an 800 credit score in less than a year. So I'm just going to jump in because unfortunately I've had all these people waiting for this and I can't get Blab to work for me. So I'm going to do the whole thing right here. Hi, thank you so much for the hearts. So the whole concept of this is I am a wellness lifestyle coach. And I run into a lot of people that, a lot of my clients who are single mothers like I am now. I am a mother of 8 children, ages 22 to 3. So when I left my husband, everything was in my name and everything went to shits. So my credit was bad. My credit was like 300. I mean, like what's that place? Rent-A-Center was even kind of looking at me, you know, side-eye about giving me anything. So, and so what I want to explain to everybody is the process that I utilize to go from a 300 credit score to a plus 800 credit score in about a year. So, I only see a few people right now, but do you guys have, hello, thank you so much for joining. Thanks for sharing. I really, really appreciate it. So my goal here is to answer your questions and explain to you my process. My process is not conventional. Some people may have heard of it, some people may not have. But it works, it's completely legal. And so one of the problems I had as a mother of 8, when I was like, okay, now I've got to get a new place, I need to, you know, take care of my family, and I've got 8 kids. And all of these bills from when we were together were in my name, so I've got all of these unpaid utility bills, I have unpaid car notes, you know, and unfortunately, when you're married or you're in a relationship with someone that has bipolar, sometimes one of their things, quote unquote things, is that they overspend, right? They just buy stuff, all kind of, you know, crazy stuff. So my credit was like really, really shit. And when I would call all these places about credit repair, they would be like, yes, just pay us $500, pay us, you know, maybe $300. You can make payments, but $300, and we can't really guarantee that your credit is going to, that we're going to be able to remove stuff from your credit. We can't guarantee anything, and we need a couple of years. I had kids to feed. I needed a new house. I needed, hi, thanks for joining. I needed, you know, utilities and shit. I didn't have 3 years for somebody to possibly remove some of this stuff. Now, if you're in a situation where it's a joint situation and utilities and things like that, our bills are in both of your names. A lot of companies, if you call them and say, hey, it was a bad breakup and we're no longer together, they have a system for either reducing the bill so that you're not 100% responsible, or they or what they'll do is they have some kind of grace, right? So they will take that off of your credit report. That simply was not enough to get my credit rating to where it needed to be to rent a house in the area that I lived in and felt was best for my kids, and get my utilities on without like massive deposits, and it was ridiculous. So, and nobody I called really was willing to give me any information without hundreds of dollars in exchange. Fine. After a lot of research, I found out something called a CPA CPN number. Have any of you guys ever heard of a CPN? Now, a lot of people who are business owners, they have an EIN. You know, your company will usually have an EIN, and it is very possible for you to kind of establish your company's credit using your EIN, but using it for personal use, right? So if you have a place but you need to get your utilities in your company's name, I mean, a lot of people have done that. That's not really what I was looking to do. I really needed to repair my credit. I needed a car. I needed shit in my own name, right? Hi, thank you for joining. Who is that? Taz? So, what did I do? I researched something called a CPN. And what I learned was that rich people, really famous people, when they're applying for credit, like stars that you see on TV, they don't use their credit, their social security number, right? Because there are ways to get a new social security number, but you have to be able to prove like all this victimization shit that you really don't want to get involved in. So celebrities don't, huh? Am I tired? No, are you tired?
Go lay down. He said it's time for bed.
He's like, I really want to go to bed, lady. Could you go to bed with me? So, celebrities do not actually use their social security number, right? Because of the possibility of someone stealing it. Can you imagine, stop it. Can you imagine being like, Obama, right? And his term is over and he goes to buy a new car and fills out the paperwork. You have to trust that these people in this car dealership is not going to take your information and go run off and fuck up your credit. So they have a system that a lot of really famous people use on a regular basis to protect themselves and their identities. And there is a law that says that you only have to provide your social security number for the purposes, like for your employment and for tax purposes, when you're filing for taxes, and if you're getting a government loan. So that's the very first thing that you need to know. When people ask you for your social security number, it's not a requirement that you provide that for them if it is not for governmental use in terms of taxes. A student loan, which is still a government loan. If it's a non-government loan, there's no law that says you have to give them your social security number. And anything related to the government. If it's not government related, you don't have to give them your social security number. So that's the very first thing. So what are these people giving them instead of a social security number? They're giving them something called a CPN. And what does a CPN stand for? Because I don't remember right off. So I'm looking. Okay, so because it has two meanings. So it can actually be, some people call it a credit privacy number or a credit protection number. And what you do is you get a CPN for yourself. And this is not a social security number, but the way that it is set up is that it has the look and feel, so to speak, of a social security number, which means the systems will allow it. Now, that doesn't mean that all your credit has gone away. It doesn't mean that you have a new social security number. What I did was I got a CPN number. And when you look that CPN number up in a social security database, it should say not valid because that number has never been issued as a social security number. But what it allowed me to do was establish credit. So I have a CPN number that I use for credit purposes. And once I got that and I started to utilize it properly, I was able to establish credit. Excuse me. While I was establishing credit using this CPN number, I then was able to pay off a lot of the things that were on my actual credit report that were actually, or negotiate things down, negotiate like a flat rate to pay things off without using it. So I didn't have to go without. I didn't have to, you put utilities in somebody else's name or not have utilities or not be able to move yet. A CPN number will allow you to get credit, like a car, personal loans, car loans. You can get a new car. You can get utilities. You can rent apartments. You can rent houses. You can get credit cards. You're responsible for all of that, the credit that is issued to you. But while you're doing that, if you're getting a personal loan with your CPN, what you want to be doing is paying off your actual Social Security number. And what happens is your CPN credit will go up because it's clean and you're using it responsibly. Meanwhile, you're paying off your actual Social Security number. Now, if you never go back to using your Social Security number, that's perfectly okay. But over time, your Social Security number in and of itself, that rating will increase because you're paying stuff down or stuff is dropping off after the 7-year mark. So then eventually, like I do, I have two numbers, my Social Security number and my CPN number that have very high credit ratings. So there's almost nothing that you really have to worry about being denied of. Right? So it's a very short process to get a CPN. It is not something that has to be issued to you. It is something that you actually create yourself through a series of steps. Once you have this number, then you go through, how do I validate this number? So you then have to submit your information to the credit bureaus. You have to apply for some loans and some things that you know you're going to be denied because you don't have a history. But that denial creates a history for you. And then you can apply for some smaller credit cards. Excuse me. You start with things like Fingerhut. And I actually had a list here. And if you Google CPNs, you will find several companies that offer like a CPN package, right? And they'll tell you, we'll get you a number. Like some people will say, we'll get you a number and we will establish that number for you, right? So that they'll actually take that number, your information, they'll apply for a bunch of stuff for you, and then you'll be in the credit bureaus. And so then you're actually like a new person with new credit. Like you're 20 years old again and you've got brand new credit. But they charge upwards to $300 for that service. There are some people who have a CPN package that you can find that charge anywhere from $60 to $200 to $300 that give you the step-by-step instructions. I do have a CPN package that I have been utilizing with my clients that I am going to make available, but it is going to be, it is considerably cheaper than anything I have ever found anywhere else. Why? Because as a single mom, I had $30. I had $40. I didn't have $100 to fix my credit at the time that I started. So somebody who has a credit issue, I just don't feel like you should have to pay hundreds of dollars to get help, because clearly you need help. And if you had the money or the resources, i.e. good credit to get a loan, to get a credit card, to pay off some other shit, hi, who's that? I am the Nick. Hey, I kind of like that. If you had good credit, right, you wouldn't fucking need this, you wouldn't need to be looking for how to fix your credit, how to get a better credit score. So my program it's a short packet, it's a video, and then it's unlimited emails with me. But you can look it up It's called a CPN, right? A credit privacy number. And basically what you're doing is you're taking the credit privacy number and you are using that to establish credit. And it is 100% legal, and the information that I provide gives you all of the legal statutes to reference so that you know what you're doing is very, very legal, which was really important to me because I didn't want to be doing anything illegal. So I went through this process. I established my number. I established my number with the new number, my credit privacy number, with credit bureaus. Then I applied to Fingerhut, right? And I got credit with Fingerhut. Now, Fingerhut sounds like, oh my God, but they are one of the oldest companies that issue credit. So once you have credit with Fingerhut,
stop throwing the cat.
Lots of other lots of other companies follow suit. Oh, Fingerhut gave you credit. Well, we'll give you $200 credit. We'll give you $300 credit. Then you go to places like IKEA. Then you get gas cards. Then you can go to Macy's, right? And Firestone. Even if you don't really need anything from those places, by applying and getting approved, if you buy one thing and pay it off and never use that card again, it increases your credit history and your credit rating. Now, there is also a process. Now, you can do this for your credit privacy number that I'm talking about. You can also do this next process with your regular Social Security number. Just opening multiple lines of credit. Okay, so actually what I'm saying is that I couldn't do that. When I got my divorce, everything was in my name. My credit was like 300. Okay, I couldn't get fucking utilities. I couldn't rent an apartment. Actually, we couldn't even fit in an apartment. I couldn't rent a house. So what I did was I established a CPN number. By law, the only time you have to issue or give someone your Social Security number is when you're dealing with the government. So student loans, filing your taxes, any federal type of situation, you have to give your Social Security number. Any other time, you actually can just give a credit privacy number. Yes, most people didn't, and so the information that I have, I was telling everyone that all of those laws, I actually cite those laws so that you know specifically. If you want to look them up yourself, you can. Thank you for inviting your followers. Most celebrities are utilizing a credit privacy number because if you can imagine, Mariah Carey walks into the store and wants to sign for a car. Really, now her credit information and her Social Security number is completely available to everybody in that car dealership. So utilizing a credit privacy number is how most celebrities protect their personal identity, because a credit privacy number, you can shut that down. Your Social Security number, not so much. So what I did was I established a CPN, credit privacy number. And while I built that credit on the CPN side, I paid down my credit debt on my actual Social Security number, which means over time, in a short period of time, like literally less than a year, I then have two numbers that have 800 credit scores. Okay? And one of the ways that you can do this even faster, in like 3 to 6 months, there is something called authorized users. And you can Google authorized users, and you will find a few companies that will offer this service. It's a service. And what they do is they have, usually it's like a husband and wife or a group of people, excuse me, and they have credit cards that have all different amounts of credit limits, from 500 to 5,000 to 500,000. And they will actually allow you to pay them to be added to their particular credit cards. Okay, like they'll tell you they've got Citibank cards, they've got, this type of card, they have department store cards, and you don't get access to the cards, you get no information. But after you pay them, say you go on the low end, maybe $100, and you say, I want this $300 card added to my credit. They will do that. You pay them for 3 months, so maybe that's a $300 investment. But what happens is, after 3 months, all of the credit reports have been, they do a cycle, right? And all of a sudden, the entire history of that credit card is now attached to your credit, okay? And these are people that have excellent credit and great credit history. So now you got to be careful, because if you're 20-something, you don't want a card that's got a 25-year history or even a 15-year history, because, hey, really, you've had a credit card since you were 5? Not really. So you want to be more specific about that. But that credit history gets added to your credit history. And then after 3 months, they take you off, and now you have this huge line of credit with on-time payments and credit with these particular top name companies, and it has boosted your credit rating by hundreds of points in 3 months. Now, I didn't do authorized users. That's why it took me a year. I went the long way. But it is possible. I did look into it. And, I'm actually considering it for my personal credit, my personal Social Security number. My CPN has over 800. My personal is about 790. My personal Social Security number now is about 790, because I was able to negotiate either a flat pay to get stuff to drop off. Some things were already in the process of dropping off. Authorized users, yes. So even if your credit's not that bad, so say you've got like a 5 or a 600, if you can afford a couple of $100s a month for 3 months, you can actually add an authorized user to your Social Security number and up your credit rating by hundreds of points. And this is really key if you're trying to buy a house. It's a game changer, because now your credit rating is high, and you've been using a CPN, so you can really not have a lot of extra activity on your Social Security number. So your rating is high, your activity is low, and you can go in there and get an incredible rate on buying a house. So, you want to sit in my lap? So these are the things that really, where's your shirt? You don't know? Let me see what you're saying. Did you get a personal loan with your CPN and pay the debt? Yes, I did. So that did 2 things for me. It paid my debt on my Social Security number, and it allowed me to pay a nice loan amount on my CPN. So that helped me establish the credit. And then I did do the finger hut thing, right? They have this thing where if you don't have any credit history, you order something, you pay $30, and then as you pay that off, they increase. After you pay off your first item, they increase it. So Finger Hut increased my credit limit with them, and then all of these other sales magazine type companies like Finger Hut started saying, "Oh, you're instantly approved. Oh, you're instantly approved." And so I would buy like one little $20 thing, and then I would pay it off. And so over a year, after doing that a couple of times, and just buying kind of knick-knack stuff here and there, and people are like, "Oh, she used that credit. Here, you can have some more credit. We'll give you 500. Oh, we'll give you 600. And over time, just buying like literally like, kitchen stuff and stuff for my house or stuff for my kids, that I already had the cash for. Stop, babe. It increased my CPN credit rating, and then I allowed my Social Security number to really sit, right, unused for a while, and paid down that debt. And then again, I used the negotiating technique of, if I pay you off right now, how much will you take? And I never ever took the offer they gave me over the phone. I would actually call them and say, look, I know I owe you, or I know I owe this company and it's been sent to you, but this is what my circumstances were. You know, it was a really bad divorce and everything was in my name and I can't really afford that. If I pay it off now, what are you willing to accept? And then they would give me a figure and I would go, you know what, I really can't do that right now, but I'll let you know. And I would hang up. And then I would get a letter in the mail, or I would get another phone call that would be like, hey, you know what, we'll take, and it would be even less. And then that's usually when I would go ahead and pay that off. So he's knocking my selfie stick around. So he's trying to get in my lap to go to sleep. But that, in 1 year's time, it totally changed my life. And, you know, now I can buy a $500,000 house if I wanted to. I can afford just about anything that my kids need. And not just because I have the cash, you know, in hand, but because I have the credit to supplement what I don't have the cash for. I don't live off my credit cards. You know, I had to learn the hard way because I was very young when I got married and started having children. So I didn't know a lot about credit. But what I do know now, I use, you know, I've got 7 accounts and I pay myself first. I put, you know, 10% for charity and 10% for, you know, other things. And I divide everything up. So if a client paid me $100, it is divided in 6 ways. And that's how I maintain my financial status now. And that is the reason why, even though my credit is great, I'm not having to live off of my credit. I live in a really, really nice, one of the most expensive counties in the U.S., but most of the people here are living off their credit cards, and they are 2-income families. You know, I'm a single income family, and I'm able to go from, I don't know what, 2,000 square feet, and we're getting ready to go into almost 7,000 square foot home. So it works. You have to work the system. I am more than happy to answer very specific questions. If you go to my website, which is Lameel, LAMEL.com, and just hit the contact button, you can send me a question, right? And I can answer that for you directly. If you go to the shop, you can actually buy my packet. And what my packet is how to pick the best CPN number for you, because it's not something that's issued, it's something that you actually create yourself. And then it's step by step about what companies I used, and I give you like 100 of different type of credit companies. What's the email? You don't actually have to email me. If you go to LAMEEL.com, which is the same as my handle here, it's Lameel.com, and just hit the contact button. Yes, hit the contact button on the site, and then it says you can send me a message. And it'll put your email in there, and it emails directly to me versus like my intern or staff members, and then I can answer that directly. But I'm more than happy to answer the questions. The information, I share a lot of this with my clients, but the other day I realized that you know, I'm not a financial advisor, and I'm not a business coach. I am a wellness lifestyle coach. But because I really, really believe for you to live your ideal life, you've got to be creating, you have to know the lifestyle you want, right? And then you have to design what you do for a living around the lifestyle that you want to have. And one of the main hindrance, thanks for the hearts, oh, and they're like Tiffany blue, they're beautiful. One of the things you have to do on a lot of levels is have some level of credit to get started. And so that's why I wanted to do this. I wanted to do this on Blab because I was hoping that people could take the hot seat and ask me their questions and we could get it recorded. But Blab and I, we're working on our relationship. So I came back to Periscope because I think this is important information, and for women, and not just women, but for men, you know, there's a lot, the single dad ratio is going up. But people in general, if you want to create your ideal lifestyle, you cannot overlook the current status of your credit, because even for me, I started a very viable business and I had there was no lacking of clients, but without the credit that I needed to kind of expand or to take care of home while my business was growing. Blab and I also are working on a relationship. Yeah, so I want to be there more often, and I'm going to try once a week. And actually, this should have fallen under Confessions of a Mompreneur. So I'm really going to be sharing a lot of what I've learned as a business owner. Oh, wow, he's asleep already. What I learned as a business owner, as a single mom, and then just some tips that have really helped me develop my business to the level that it is so that I can have the lifestyle that I have always dreamed of, that everybody told me I couldn't do because, you know, you've got 8 kids. And, you know, to most people, it's like, you got 8 kids, go get a 9-to-5. But what the fuck kind of 9-to-5 is going to pay me to be home with my kids and to keep them in a certain lifestyle and to be involved? And there isn't one, you know. So the things that I've learned, I definitely want to share, and as it relates to business and lifestyle, that's kind of the stuff that you'll find. Hopefully, as soon as Blab, you know, and I make nice in